everyone. My name is Ishita Pranav, and today I will be your teacher teaching you ecology. When you go outside, there's a whole different world that you can see. It consists of the sun, trees, plants, animals, and different things all working together to create a beautiful environment. But how exactly does all of this come into place? That's where ecology comes in. Now, what is ecology? You know that when a word ends with ology, it means the study of something. And in this case, ecology is the study of organisms and how they interact with the environment around them. Who studies them, you ask? They are ecologists. Ecologists study the relationships of organisms and their environment, identifying any environmental problems and determining what caused them and how to improve the situation. As seen in the picture below, they conduct science experiments to evaluate ecosystems and test hypotheses about the way an ecosystem functions. Through this, ecology tells us new knowledge about the interdependence between people and nature. Here are a few examples of different ecosystems. You can see the coral reef here and also the African savanna. And if you guys remember the Lion King is a great example of an African savanna. You can see all the animals here, even little Simba up here. Okay, moving on to ecosystems and organisms. They are a big aspect of ecology. And ecosystems are biological communities of interacting organisms and their physical environment. They're made up of two main components, abiotic, non-living, and biotic factors, which we will go more into later. There are numerous different types of ecosystems, including forest, desert, rainforest, grassland, tundra, savanna, mountain, just to name a few. Each of these ecosystems have their own characteristics and organisms, which sets them apart from each other. A forest ecosystem consists of lots of trees, air, and water, while a desert ecosystem is very dry and sandy, occasionally getting rain. Opposite to that is a rainforest, as it is super wet and damp with lots of trees and different animals. If you have seen the Jungle Book, you can jog your memory and imagine just how a rainforest may look. Moving on, grassland and savanna ecosystems are pretty much the same as they both consist of lots and lots of vegetation and open areas of grass. You can spot the king of the jungle here too, the lion. Then we have the tundra, where it is very cold and snowy, with temperatures reaching as low as -52 degrees Fahrenheit. Finally, the mountain ecosystem has a high altitude and a large rocky terrain, like a mountain. Okay, time for a quick activity. And you can find all of these questions in the link that is attached in the description box below to the Google form. And in here, what you want to do is correctly identify which ecosystem is which. So how did you do? Now your answer should relate to this answer key here. The first picture shown was for a forest. The second was a grassland. The third one was savanna. The fourth one was mountain. Fifth was rainforest. Sixth was desert. And seven was tundra. I bet you all did really good. Okay, moving on to biotic and abiotic factors. Remember those factors that we mentioned earlier? This is that. Abiotic factors are the non-living physical and chemical components of an ecosystem that shapes its environment, and it has a major influence on the organisms living in it. This includes the climate, water, soil, atmosphere, and most importantly, the sun, which is the prime source of energy. Now, these play a crucial role in the welfare of an ecosystem and the survival of its biotic species. For example, if there's no sunlight, plants would not be able to photosynthesize, preventing them from making their own food. As a result, they will start to die, and hence all the other organisms who eat those plants will also die. Gradually, the whole ecosystem will then collapse. Now, the biotic factors of an ecosystem are the living organisms, like plants, animals, and bacteria. They both depend on each other for survival, which we can see in a food chain as well. So here is a food chain, and each ecosystem has this. A food chain is a hierarchical series of organisms, each dependent on the next as a source of food. Both biotic and abiotic factors are categorized in different levels of the food chain called trophic levels. They include producers, consumers, and decomposers. Beginning with producers, they are the organisms that photosynthesize, usually plants, and they are the start of the food chain. Then we have the consumers who eat the producers and are usually herbivores, meaning they only eat plants. They are then followed by secondary consumers, who are a mix of both carnivores, meat eaters, and omnivores, both plant and meat eaters. Now, not all ecosystems have these, but tertiary consumers are mainly carnivores who feed on primary and secondary consumers. Finally, at the end, we have decomposers who break down all dead material, such as worms and fungi. Here's another activity here, and basically what you want to do is categorize each of the different pictures into whichever trophic level they are in. Okay, so here are the correct answers. In the decomposers, we have the worm and fungi. The producers, we just have the plants and grass. And for the consumers, we have these animals right here. Just to give you a better example, here's an African savanna. The producers are the factors that provide food and energy to the consumers coming afterwards, which are the trees, shrubs, and grass. Then we have primary consumers. These primary consumers are the gazelles, elephants, and zebras, all who are herbivores who eat the producers. The secondary consumers would be the lions and cheetahs who prey on the herbivores, such as the zebras and gazelles. Now, one thing to be noted is that the lion here is a apex predator, meaning that they have no prey. They play a very crucial role in maintaining the balance between the prey population, as without them, there could be an overabundance of prey. This could then lead to more disease outbreaks and the scarcity of producers in an ecosystem. Moving on, the tertiary consumer here would be the vulture, who feeds on both the primary and secondary consumers when they die. Finally, coming at the end of the food chain, we have the decomposers, which are the mushrooms and insects. The main thing to take from here is that all the organisms and trophic levels rely on each other, and that there has to be a constant balance within the ecosystem for it to flourish. Taking this all into consideration, this is what we call biodiversity, the variety of life in the world or in a particular habitat or ecosystem. Such diversity is essential for the prosperity of different ecosystems and forms of nature. However, extinctions of native plants and animals can reduce the biodiversity, as competition for limited resources with native organisms would increase. This can result in huge economic impacts and fundamental disruptions of coastal and Great Lakes ecosystems, such as the introduction of invasive species. Just to have a quick review, these are the different vocabulary terms that we have gone over, so just keep that in mind. Population, community, and habitat. Invasive species. This is an example of invasive species, the cane toad. It is a large, warty, poisonous amphibian native to the South and Central America and considered to be one of the worst invasive species in the world. They were introduced in many countries with the hope that they would help control agricultural pests. The toads did fail to control insects, but they turned out to be remarkably successful at reproducing and spreading themselves. So instead of really being the solution to the problem, they became the problem themselves and they repopulated and they grew and they basically took over the environment. So, with all being said, climate change is still a very big thing today, and it is negatively impacting environments and ecosystems all around the world. And us humans have a big contribution in that. In a negative way, we impact the physical environment through overpopulation, pollution, burning fossil fuels, and deforestation. Changes like these have triggered climate change, soil erosion, poor air quality, and undrinkable water. This continues to take a toll on such great ecosystems and their organisms, including us humans. It can lead to an increase in extreme weather events, which can cause physical injuries and mental health problems. A few of the effects that are here are infectious diseases. Climate change can lead to the spread of infectious diseases such as West Nile virus and Lyme disease, and these can negatively impact the nervous system and cause neurological disorders. Moving on, there's also air pollution. Air pollution is often exacerbated by climate change, and it can negatively impact neurological health. Exposure to air pollution has actually been linked to an increased risk of developing neurological disorders such as Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and multiple sclerosis. Additionally, water and food shortages can also be seen all throughout the world. And this can impact overall health and lead to malnutrition and other physical health related problems. And these all combined can affect your overall neurological function as well. But there's more. Migration and displacement can cause psychological distress and increased risk of developing neurological disorders such as PTSD. Additionally, there's a very high strain on the economy, which can lead to social stress. It can negatively affect mental health and lead to an increased risk of developing neurological disorders such as depression and anxiety. And finally, with the release of so many environmental toxins such as pesticides and heavy metals in the environment, Those things can negatively affect their neurological function and lead to the development of neurological disorders in humans as well. The main importance and impact of ecology really is that it provides new knowledge of the interdependence between people and nature. This is vital for food production, maintaining clean air and water, and sustaining biodiversity in a changing climate. Without this field of study, we would never be able to know the different factors that affect our lifestyle and the quality of our environment. Now you can have fun too yourself. One of the things you can try at home is to see acid rain and actually make it. The procedure is in the link in the description below, and it's only about 5 to 7 steps to do. As you can do it, you can later observe the works of acid rain. The main purpose of this project is to show that if you exert too much carbon dioxide into the environment, which we actually are, the air can become acidic and pollute the rain that falls down. As a result, many trees and plants that receive less nutrient and minerals from the soil affecting them, hence preventing them to grow better, which then affects the organisms who consume them. This is dangerous not only for the environment, but us humans as well, as it can lead to many respiratory health problems. There's also another project here, and this does require adult supervision, and it's called Smog in a Jar. It can be done in a few easy steps as well. But we all know what smog is, right? It's that smoky fog that actually pollutes the air so we can't see anything clearly. As this reduces visibility, we would not be able to see anything clearly, and that would affect our daily life activities, such as driving outside or even going on a walk. Similar to acid rain, smog is related to air pollution, which can lead to an increased risk of respiratory and heart disease. As for the organisms, due to the thick fog, sunlight wouldn't be able to reach the plants, which would prevent plants from doing quality photosynthesis. If they cannot make food, they would sadly perish, leading to other consumers perish as well, as we observed in the food chain. I highly encourage you to try to do either one or both of these activities. In fact, you can get an extra 30 minutes of volunteering for each of them. To show proof that you have done the activity, just upload a picture of your finished project with you in it to the Google Classroom page. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you at the next lesson.